Hey, what's up gang? Kawaii50 here with another Honkai Star Rail video, and today I wanted to talk about two characters that I have been using fairly routinely myself, yet I'll see people popping up comparisons through like just a bunch of different places, social media, Discord, etc. And that is Asta and Tingyun. And people are like, should I use my Asta even though I got Tingyun? Should I even bother leveling her? Should I re-roll for Tingyun even though I get Asta guaranteed for free from the gacha? And I get it. There's a lot of hype surrounding Tingyun, but I just want to go ahead and let you know that there is very much a reason to still use Asta on teams, and maybe even in situations you might want to use Asta over Tingyun. So let's just go over that super duper fast. Hopefully this video helps you out when it comes to team building, maybe makes you feel more secure about your Asta and using her in certain situations. Like, comment, subscribe, etc. That really helps me out and it lets me know that you're interested in videos like this. All right, let's talk about Asta first. Why not? Her name comes first in the alphabet. So the gameplay you're going to see running in the background while I'm doing this is going to be my preferred Asta team right now. I tried to stick to 4 stars for this particular setup for purposes of, elaborating on it. And plus my hook is my best fire character. She's E6. So of course I've got Asta there to support her. Now, Asta has a very special ability, and that is her astrometry talent. And this talent can actually get out of hand very, very quickly if your enemy has a fire weakness. So for those that may not have used Asta, may not know how this talent particularly works, this grants her 1 stack of charging for every enemy hit by Asta. She gets an extra stack if the enemy has a fire weakness. For every stack, that is going to be a bonus 7 to 15% attack increased for all allies, including Asta, and that stacks up to 5 times. Now, her stacks will reduce every single time her turn pops up, so you're going to have to go and use her skills or her attack to replenish them. But this skill is actually super strong, and the nice thing about it is that it is completely dependent on your ally's attack, not necessarily Asta's herself. When we're going to be looking at Tingyun in just a sec, a lot of stuff is dependent on her particular attack boost and her attack stat as a whole. So it may end up being inconsistent if your Tingyun is not properly built, or if you just don't simply have many attack relics to give her. With Asta right here, we are granted a talent that, even though you've got to keep an uptime at it, the bonuses it provides are very, very consistent. You are going to be seeing a minimum of 35% increased attack for all of your characters at 5 stacks, and when this is finally maxed out, that's going to be a 75% attack increase, which is huge for any particular carry or even tank or whoever that you want to end up supporting. Your team is actually going to hit hard by virtue of Asta just straight up existing, which is a very, very big boost in her favor, I might add. But Asta also has a solid ability to increase ally speed, and there have been several fights that I've ended fairly quickly, mainly because Astral Blessing just pushes all of my allies to act before the bosses even get a turn. I get an extra opportunity to break an enemy, I get an extra opportunity to maybe shoot up a buff or shoot up a heal that I haven't had an opportunity to do otherwise, and maybe it would have ended the fight for me if I wasn't able to do that. So that is also incredibly important. And the final thing that is a big feather in Asta's cap is her Meteor Storm. Tingyun doesn't necessarily have something like this. She is very reliant on your other carries. But when it comes to Asta, Meteor Storm, if there is a single enemy left, and God help them if they are weak to fire, there is a very high chance that Asta is going to deplete their break meter substantially. So having that ability to rapidly deplete an enemy's break meter thanks to her skill is very, very good if you are running a fire-based team. The caveat, of course, when it comes to Asta is, well, your enemy needs to be weak against fire. If she is fighting something where she can't really affect the break bar, then this extra bit of added utility from Meteor Storm goes down significantly. So you need to keep that in mind. That's sort of Asta's main detriment, is if you have enemies that are weak against fire, great, she's going to immediately reach her max potential and give you some massive attack boosts, give you a ton of break for your buck. But if your enemy is not weak against fire, while she's still providing some fairly solid attack boosts and the ability to push your allies, really good enough to have her as a support on your team, especially if you don't have Tingyun, her abilities are still ultimately diminished. Now let's just move on to talking about Tingyun, and I get it everyone. Not only is her design top tier, but Tingyun does have the ability to basically enable and facilitate basically any character in the game. She has the ability to pump up some energy, she has the ability to grant a solid attack boost. As we stated previously with Asta though, this is based off of her own attack, so you gotta make sure she has a super high attack herself in order to get the most out of her buffs. And also, something you've got to keep in mind with Tingyun, whereas Asta is able to provide blanket buffs to the entire party, Tingyun is mainly focused on helping one single ally. So she is going to be best in a hyper carry team. For those that don't know what a hyper carry team is, a hyper carry team is a team built around one single character. The rest of your team is entirely built around supporting that character, granting them as many buffs as possible, and having them as your primary damage outlet. The nice thing about this is it's really only one character you have to invest in, which can be super helpful, especially if you're just starting out and don't have many materials. The downside to this, however, is that you are very focused on this one character. So if this one character ends up dying or isn't particularly effective in your current situation, well, you're either going to need to swap in another character that you've built up, or it might be a little bit of an uphill battle. I mainly pair my Tingyun with my Jingyuan because Jingyuan is proving to be probably the best hyper carry in the entire game right now, especially considering he's able to just blanket hit absolutely every single opponent. I would personally argue he's better than Seela, but that's just me. Going back to Tingyun, however, definitely a great character, don't get me wrong, but if I was running a team that really needed to focus on dealing some sort of fire damage, or I just wanted to make sure that my buffs were overall more consistent on an amount of my party members, maybe I'm running, I don't know, something like a Hook and a Welt, and I want to make sure both Hook and Welt are able to deal solid amounts of damage spread out throughout my team. Well, in that case, I might end up running an Asta rather than a Tingyun. Or maybe run them both together if I'm confident enough to not run a healer. That is also a possibility too. Anyways, gang, that's really just what I wanted to go over. Both Asta and Tingyun do have their strengths, and just because you ended up pulling Tingyun doesn't necessarily mean that you should stop building your Asta. Asta has plenty of uses, even in teams where your enemies aren't weak against fire, and on top of that, just in general, you're gonna need two teams anyways to beat Forgotten Hall. So if you've got both Tingyun and Asta, you might as well just level them both. If you only have Asta and haven't pulled a Tingyun yet, don't fret, Asta is still a very serviceable support. But of course, I want to know from you all, so let me know down in the comments below who you prefer right now between Tingyun and Asta. I feel like most people are going to say Tingyun, of course, because of the flexibility that she has, but going even further beyond, why don't you tell me which teams you are running Tingyun and or Asta in? Maybe people in chat can help each other with team comps. That might honestly be pretty dang nice. Let's go ahead, help each other and make Star Rail an even more enjoyable game to play. As you head down in the comments, check out the links to my Discord, my Patreon, my Ko-fi, and my Twitch. Huge thanks to everyone on those platforms for their support, and of course all of you here on YouTube for your support. Without you all watching my videos, I wouldn't really feel a need to make them. So thank you once again. Anyways, gang, that's it for me, Kawaii50. I hope you all have a phenomenal day, and I'll see y'all in the next one.